did Rennie really get pulled underwater as a kid? By little Jason? Or was it something else? During the events of Friday the 13th Part 8, we're given some backstory on the main character Rennie when she was a child learning to swim under the guidance of her uncle. During this time, she is purposely pushed off the boat that both of them are on. And while she's struggling to stay above water, she's eventually pulled underneath for what seems to be a child version of Jason Voorhees. Now, given the time frame of when this possibly could have happened, it doesn't make sense in the overall Friday the 13th timeline. So then it made me think, was she even really pulled underwater by Jason? Or did she imagine the whole thing happening? My theory is that yes, she was pulled underwater by Jason, but it wasn't child Jason. When you factor in everything that's happened from movie to movie and young Rennie's age at the time she was pulled underwater, it's likely that it would have been directly after the events of Friday the 13th Part 6, meaning Jason would have been just chained to a rock by Tommy Jarvis and dropped to the bottom of Crystal Lake. So it would make sense that Rennie, while learning to swim, maybe her and her uncle, their boat passed over where Jason may have drifted to. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that while Rennie was learning to swim and she was pushed off of the boat, that a chained up Jason prior to the events of Friday the 13th Part 7 grabbed onto her ankle and pulled her underwater. Now, given how much of a local legend Jason has become at that point, even especially if we factor in Friday the 13th Part 6, the conversations between some of those characters showing that they even have a Jason card game with just a regular deck of playing cards. So it shows even then how much of the public knows about Jason. Now, that can also reverberate to kids, especially around that time, given that Rennie just, according to her flashback, had just heard a story about Jason. And I think she kind of plays it a little like she doesn't know who that is, but when she goes underwater and she sees Jason, it's likely that when she looks down, she hallucinates the kid. But it's actually Jason from Friday the 13th Part 6. And obviously she gets away, but I think that with that staying with Rennie, and there's also the idea that anybody who comes in contact with Jason has some kind of mental breakdown to where they see hallucinations. That's where we get the dream sequence with Alice. That's where we get the dream sequences with Chris and Jenny and so forth. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that just her being grabbed by Jason and pulled underwater may have started those type of hallucinations in her as a child, and she probably had them from there on out. But overall, that's my theory. I believe that she was pulled underwater, but it wasn't by Kid Jason. She hallucinated Kid Jason. It was really Jason after the events of Friday the 13th Part 6 that grabbed onto her. Somehow she got free. They never say how or why Jason let her go. Maybe Jason saw that she was a child and let her go. That's a possibility. But I believe that it was after the events of part 6, before the events of part 7. But comment below. Let me know if you guys agree. And always be sure to like, share, and subscribe, as well as hitting the notification bell to be alerted whenever a new video is uploaded. Especially these non-scripted ones that I like doing from time to time to get my raw thoughts out there without reading off a script and trying to polish myself a little bit better than I normally would talking to make sure I hit all the points that I normally want to hit. But I thought this one was simple enough with Rennie possibly hallucinating kid Jason when it was actually adult Jason that was chained to the bottom of the lake by Tommy Jarvis. And that being said, as always, I am JG Dark, and thanks for watching.